Hi, I'm Rika, and welcome to Inspiring Africans. I'm your host for education, and today I'm here with Mr. Napoleon Kenmon. Welcome to Inspiring Africans, Napoleon.
Oh, well, thank you, Rika. As Rika just said, my name is Mr. Napoleon Kenmon. I'm from the Republic of Liberia, and I want to thank everybody, Inspiring African as an organization or a group of people for inviting me here today. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Today basically, I'm so honored to have you here because I want to talk to you about education, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what you study and what you're doing so far with your life in terms of education.
Well, I think education is very, very important topic. With regards to Africa and the world in general, the entire world we live in, it's built on the concept of education. It drives success in society, and I'm currently doing a postgrad degree in law, and that's pretty much what I'm doing for the moment, and hoping on looking toward further studies where possible.
So, what do you want to do with this postgrad in law?
Oh, well, basically, you see, access to law and access to justice is one of the things that impede people's ability to move ahead. Like especially within the African context, a lot of our people, there's when they face challenges in life and legal problem, it might be problems with the police or problem with the legal system in general. And I think studying to become a lawyer, and if I graduate and get admitted as a lawyer, I can contribute towards delivering or providing access to justice to African people, particularly from the African context.
Wow, that's amazing. So this is a postgrad. So what undergrad did you do?
Oh, well, yeah, I actually studied Bachelor of Justice and Legal Studies from the University of the Sunshine Coast, and graduated 2013, and subsequently worked for the Department of Justice and Attorney General for nearly 2 years, and then decided to, while I was subsequently studying my law degree as well, but now I decided to study law full time, so it's
Okay.
great.
So if coming through that avenue, was it something that you premeditated, like you thought, oh yeah, I'm just going to do a justice and then get to law, or what's the situation there?
Well, I think that's very, very great question, Rika. I must admit, like it has always been my desire to contribute my services to the African people, and I believe Africa as a continent is a great continent. Africa have produced some of the best and educated people in the world, some of the smartest people out of African heritage, from Barack Obama to Nelson Mandela to Martin Luther King. These are great people. But the challenges we faced in Africa, in particular, is education, access to education, skill training for young people. And when we talk about education, what are we talking about here? And I was just talking with a brother just before from South Sudan, and I was saying to him that Africa needs educated people, but the education should not be limited to people who go to university, get degrees in political science, accountants. We do need professionals, but we also need skilled laborers. Like, we need educated people, because half of the population in Africa it's been said that they're young people. So Africa has the potential to build. Africa can become the place for inspiration, the place where everybody can go. But education for African people is the most important thing. And when it comes to my own life, what I decided, coming back to your question, what I decided to study law. I actually did architecture, drafting, and design. I wanted to do engineering when I first moved to Australia. But my belief is it would be a personal thing for me, becoming an engineer, working, making money. That's not my dream. My dream in Australia is to get educated and go back home to Africa, the mother's land, and do that which is right by the people of Africa. And it's not limited to Liberia. I think every other Africans can do exactly that. And we can uplift Africa when it comes to education.
So in this process, is there any challenges, or is there something that has, I guess, stopped you or has made you think twice in your journey from architecture or engineering to justice and now law? Is there anything that you would see as a challenge?
Oh yeah, I have had, numerous challenges in life, but you see, in adversities, when difficulties come your way, your ability to move past difficulties in life is the triumph of the human spirit. It's something, and I'll tell anybody, any young person, any old person, whatever the case may be out there, when you're faced with challenges, you got to give yourself the courage, the determination to move past difficulties in life. But you cannot always do this by yourself. You have to surround yourself with positive people. And I must say, since I went to university and I met you and met the other guys, it has been great. And because I have surrounded myself with positive people who think, in a way that, underpin my own development, it has helped me, overcome a lot of challenges. And I say to anybody out there who's facing difficulties in life, and especially with respect to attaining education, you need to surround yourself with positive people who think way beyond. Now, people who are not shallow thinkers, because shallow thinkers only think about tomorrow, what we're going to get for the next few hours. But people who think profoundly, who think about the continent of Africa, if you link yourself with such people, such as what you guys are doing, I think it is great for Africa, and it's really great. And just a very quick thing, I just want to talk a little bit about my own history, because my own history in life is, is an inspiration to anybody. My parents are very poor people. We lived in Africa, grew up, we one bedroom, we had nothing, coming up. And from being, a refugee in the Lenin refugee camp, we were, lucky to have come to Australia. And when I first moved to Australia, I couldn't even speak English properly, and the stigma, the discrimination. A lot of the time, I never had courage, because when I talk to people, they'd be like, what? Like nobody could understand me when I talk to them. But I never gave up, and I always, hang around positive people who said to me, look, Napoleon, you can do it. And then I went to TAFE when I first moved to Australia, the Metropolitan Salting Institute of TAFE. I studied English. And from TAFE, my lecturer at TAFE, recommended me to university. Say, oh, I think you can do better if you go to uni. And that's how I went to university. And then I strived. I've had huge challenges, language barrier. Hopefully I overcame those barriers.
Definitely.
And managed to have graduated and got a job with the Department of Justice and Attorney General, and managed over 150 offenders within Australia. And it's something I'm proud of. And I think all of that would not have come if I hadn't made the decision to get education. That's what I think education is important.
Wow, that is one story, I think, to be told, to hear that. That's amazing, coming from no English, and you speak profound English, and to work for the Attorney General, I think that's a really great accomplishment, and it really goes back to what you're speaking about and talking about reaching back home to Africans and being able to expand and spread that knowledge. I just want to come back to this law degree, and how do you think this law degree, because law in Australia is quite different to law in perhaps any of the African countries, Liberia, South Sudan, Ghana, Zimbabwe. So how do you think knowledge and of Queensland law, because I believe that's what they teach here, is that transferable? What can you take and give back?
Because I think again that's a very good question. With you see, the law here is very different. Law and what is justice in one part of the world means different things to different people in law as well. But we have to understand one thing. The law is meant to stabilize society. Without law, society breaks down. And the reason for which we all go to university, we all get our skills, is to be able to help better our lives and better our society. Now, with the law degree that I've studied so many other subjects. I can go back home, become a teacher, help educate young children about ideas of, justice, about women rights, the rights of children, what is acceptable behavior, and promote our society through that means. So, I want to thank the Australian people and the African people in general who have also supported, my desire, my ambition, to get education. I think with that limited education that I have had, I can be able to, help my society, reform a lot of things. And you and I study administrative law together. And that's an important aspect of law that I think can be transferred to Africa. And if you look at history, you look at the Chinese right after, the revolutions and stuff. There were lots of Chinese scholars who went to, and Japanese scholars who went to Western countries, went to different parts of the world. And what they've done, we call comparative scholars. They've learned other systems and they've built upon those systems with their own model. So I'm not advocating for Africa to, take, foreign legal concepts, but there are some fundamental principles that are very important. For example, transparency, like with the administrative law I was just referring to. Checks and balances. We have huge political problem across the continent where corruption is highly endemic. If we can create that system of checks and balances, then we can be able to help Africa move forward as well. So within that regard, I think my law degree can contribute immensely towards the development of my country and Africa in general.
Definitely. So with all this at hand, if I was a young girl just watching this and I thought law, helping justice is, and maybe it interrelates with politics and stuff, do you think that just being a lawyer is the goal, or maybe there's more to law than just being a lawyer?
Oh yeah, that's certainly true. There's more to law than just being a lawyer. You can study law, you can become, a social worker. You can do whatever, and help your community. And to any young person out there who wants to study the law, who wants to get education, it may not just be limited to that of law. It may be just an accountant. It may be a plumber. It may be an engineer. It may be somebody who's a bricklayer. All that drives productivity in society, and that's the fundamental issue when we talk about education, because we all have different ambitions. You can be a musician. That's education in my view, Rika. Mm-hmm. So with all of that, if we all put our little skills together, we can help Africa, and we can help the African community, and we can prove to Australians, and that's why I have a lot of respect for Sudanese, because Sudan as a country, South Sudan, North Sudan, but the Sudanese people have proved in Australia that African people who've come from Africa have huge potential. Everywhere you go, there's Sudanese bankers, they're lawyers, they're playing football in Australia. They are an inspiration to other Africans. Don't say to them, look, because in anything in life is the mind of the people. Once you defeat yourself in the mind, no matter how big you are defeated. No matter how little you are, if you build a strong mind, you can achieve a lot. So education is that which brings confidence to anybody, and I think it will help the African people.
Wow, that's a lot to take. Thank you for the recommendation, and I believe anyone who's a South Sudanese or Sudanese hearing that will feel proud, And I think it's a matter of us as a continent, as Africa, we can rise up, and influence each other and really build each other, not just the South Sudanese community or those, but I'm sure there's so many out there from different countries in Africa that are doing and working and striving as communities, to equip and, pass forward that knowledge, that transferable knowledge that can be given that we've learned. Thank you so much, Napoleon. If there's one more last message you would like to give to anyone, watching, not just about law, not just about education, but something that you think is so valuable, you wouldn't want to leave without saying.
Oh yes, I just want to again say a big thank you to the Australian people for having given me the opportunity to educate myself, and I also want to encourage the young Africans out there that stay away from crime, stay away from violence. They lead you to nowhere. They put you in prison, and then how Africans are. We're all interrelated. We're all connected. If one person is in trouble, the entire Africa gets affected. So we must take education as a priority. We must stay out of trouble and do the right thing by Africa, and by caring, loving each other, staying by each other, and doing the right thing to help us progress within our new country, Australia. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And there you have it from Napoleon Kenmon, just talking to us about education, coming from nothing to something. Learning English was a challenge, and I believe. And as you can hear him speak, he's also a living testimony of what can be done. And it's all about determination, as he said. So if you're determined and you're passionate, take whatever you're passionate about, get to know a little bit more, because if you know more, you can do more. Thank you so much. I'm your host for education, Rika Wani.